What is up, everyone? So, I saw the new Supergirl movie, and to give you some background, I absolutely adored the previous Superman movie from last year. Flaws and everything. Parts of it were messy, but even those parts had charm and heart to it. I adored it in spite of its flaws. In fact, I rated it a lot higher than I probably should have. I gave it a 9 out of 10, even if there's enough flaws to maybe drop the score to a 7 or an 8. But regardless, I had high hopes for Supergirl. From the trailers, it looked really good, and I actually liked that it was a lot shorter than Superman, being an hour and 50 minutes. That way it could be a lot more focused and maybe build more emotions with less characters and less plot points. And in spite of the initial mixed reception it got from the critics, I went in hoping that it would be good, hoping that it would still live up in spite of it. I didn't want it to be perfect. I just wanted it to be at least somewhere close to the quality of Superman. So, where the fuck did we go wrong with this one? Because holy crap, this is one of the worst superhero movies of the decade. Okay, with these kind of reviews, I always try to get the positives out of the way first, and uh, the performances were good, I guess. Lobo, Jason Momoa was cool as Lobo. He was really awesome. I liked him. Unfortunately, though, his character is very underutilized, and Millie Alcock, in spite of some of the, in spite of a lot of people clowning on her, I did think she gave a good performance. But outside of the performances, despite being shorter than Superman, it feels like a fucking slog. It moves slowly, and so many parts of it, like there's a lot of action in it, but said action is so scattershot, poorly directed, poorly shot, edited, lit, poorly lit, like, and it looks artificial. Like the CGI, some of the CGI did look good at first, but as we go on, and the more CGI gets implemented into these action scenes, the more artificial and soulless it looks. You know, like with Superman, at least the lighting was good, even if there's a lot of CGI. And with this one, yeah, like it has more visceral action because Supergirl don't give no fucks about the no kill rule. She'll kill whoever she wants. And yeah, I will say, yeah, this one's a lot darker than Superman, but also it tries to balance that dark tone with some goofy as shit moments and possibly the worst scene I have seen in a superhero movie this decade. We'll get to that. Boy, fucking howdy, we will get to that. But anyways, what else can I say? I guess her origin was fine. It kinda felt on par with the quality of Superman, but at the same time, I was a bit worried because it wasn't quite as intriguing. And then Superman shows up, and he's charming as hell, obviously, for the short time he's there. But then we get into Supergirl herself, and I found her struggle mildly interesting with her PTSD and her seeing, oh, I don't see the good people. I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm going to kill you. You know, that part of her personality starts off mildly interesting, but as it goes on, it becomes very edgy and like she does go through a bit of development, which I like the effort, but also the way she's handled, it's very clunky and very a lot weaker than Superman from last year. Let's just say, okay, I'll stop comparing it to Superman since it's a standalone. But the tone, it's darker and it tries to be darker, and occasionally it doesn't take itself super seriously, which I'm fine with. But then it tries to get all super grim and everything, and the villain, Creme of the Yellow Hills, um, they tried they tried to make the DC equivalent of the High Evolutionary. Like they're very different kind of villains, but they're like the kind of villains that you really, really hate. And yeah, he's really evil, but also I don't know about how he was implemented and certain choices they made with his character. Like, I haven't read the comic book or the graphic novel or whatever it's based on, but the way he's handled feels off. Like, he functions fine as a villain. He's a really big threat, and he does get upper hand on Supergirl a lot of the times. Speaking of that, at first I was fine with them kind of depowering her, but then it kept happening, and the reasons became very coincidental and convenient for the villains. I'm like, okay. And then I think the real big thing with this one is that the script, the story itself doesn't feel as well thought out as Superman. Like, Superman was messy as hell, but that messiness came from a place of heart, and even those parts were still fun, entertaining. But with this one, it feels misguided and sluggish. And that's not helped by the film's very suffocate. I wouldn't say suffocating, but its atmosphere is very bleak, and it's mostly because of the lighting. The lighting's really bad in this one. Uh, but it just feels off. It feels like a lot less care went into this one. There's a lot less aspects to it, and yet it somehow became an even bigger mess than Superman. Like, not no insult to Superman. I love that film, but this one, that was a good mess. This is the bad kind of mess. It is. The script really felt like it needed a second draft. It really, really needed some work. I feel like if they delayed this a bit, did some reshoots, and maybe changed their director, because was it Gillespie? Yeah, Craig Gillespie. He didn't seem like the best choice to direct this. Like, he did do Cruella, which I admit I like that film. That's good. Not amazing, but like better than pretty much every live action remake. And he also directed I, Tonya, which I haven't seen, but I hear it's good. So he's clearly competent with like writing strong female driven films. But with this one, I think it just needed James Gunn. Like, I feel like if this was directed by James Gunn, yeah, maybe parts of it would be still messy, but at least it'd be messy in a fun way. It desperately needed a stronger atmosphere, stronger lighting, direction, and writing. Like, these characters don't feel well thought out, and there's plenty of plot holes in this one. Like, you think about some of these things, and you're like, wait a minute, how, what? I'm not going to reveal them, but I'm sure you'd probably catch it if you pay enough attention with the film itself. And it happens early on. And then possibly one of the worst aspects of the film is the song choices they used, and the infamous fucking needle drop. I saw a review on Letterboxd that said that they physically recoiled when they heard that needle drop, and I don't blame them, because I honestly felt like puking. Who thought it was a good idea to use that song and that climactic of a scene? Like, with the right song choice, it could have been a fine scene, but that song completely just fucks the whole thing up. What were they thinking with that song choice? And then there's a whole bunch of other song choices that not as bad, but they're still very odd. It feels like it's trying to be a DC version of Guardians of the Galaxy, except it sucks all of the aspects of that made those films so amazing. And if it wanted to do that, get James Gunn. I don't know why you let Craig Gillespie direct this one, because he clearly didn't know what the hell he was doing. So this one's really disappointing, and like so many other films this year, like, there were so many films of these last couple of months that I was very, very excited for. Disclosure Day, Michael, Super Mario Galaxy, those films was excited for, and all three of them were fucking awful. And this one is no different. It's probably better than the three I just mentioned. Like, at least with Super Mario Galaxy, or not, at least with this one, I felt something. At least I felt intense negative emotions. Whereas with the Mario Galaxy movie, I felt absolutely nothing. That film left a void in me, and with Disclosure Day, that film didn't make me mad because of anything in the film itself, but because it came from Spielberg after so much experience with alien films. And I also felt nothing from that film, aside from a very intense disdain for the horrendous writing and clearly AI generated visuals and writing. And then Michael, less said about Michael, the better. It's the most generic and uninteresting and played straight biopic I've ever seen with so little burdens along the way. They really watered down the story of Michael Jackson, and that film's only saving grace was the music and Jafar Jackson. Whereas with this one, the only saving graces with this one are a few maybe potentially interesting character arcs and developments and backstories, some good performances, but the music, unlike Michael, is horrendous. That needle drop, as I mentioned before, is probably, you know what? No, without question, the worst needle drop I have ever heard in a movie. Period. Maybe there's a worse one out there, but I'm yet to see it. It's so bad that I revoked half. I wrote no, not a full point from my score because of that needle drop. It dragged this movie down, and it left a bad taste in my mouth. But at least I felt more feelings with this movie than I did with Michael, Disclosure Day, and the Mario Galaxy movie. With that being said, though it's just barely better than those ones, I still cannot rate it higher than a 2.5 out of 10. Yeah, I had some good things to say, but I bet you weren't expecting that low of a score because the DCU needs to recover from this movie desperately, and I hope to God it does because Clayface looks great. Man of Tomorrow looks like it's going to be even better than Superman. I just hope to God they never get Craig Gillespie or whoever wrote this damn movie to work on a DC project again. Okay, it's not James Gunn's fault, but at the same time, it's kind of his fault for not involving himself more. Yeah, he did involve himself in it, but he needed to be the director. This could have been at least solid if James Gunn just directed it, because this seems right up his alley. Emotions, needle drops, music, space odyssey, evil villains, flawed characters. James Gunn can do all of that. So I don't know why the hell they entrusted it to Craig Gillespie, who also seemed like he could have pulled it off, but after the film itself, boy howdy, he can't. So yeah, I have been so disappointed by the last 4 or 5 films I've seen in theaters. Okay, that's a lie. Backrooms was good, but like Michael, Supergirl, Mario Galaxy, and what was it? Disclosure Day. Like, what are we doing? All of those films fall in like the 2.5 out of 10 range for me. And though this film, Supergirl, is the best of the 2 out of 10 films this year, only barely. And if you follow me on Letterboxd, you'll see that I rated Animal Farm higher than this one because, at the very least, that film knew it was a piece of crap, and at least I got ironic enjoyment out of some of its more awful elements. Yes, it pissed me off by how much it butchered Orwell's classic, but at least I felt more emotion from that one than I did with those previous films. I guess the best I can say is it's vastly better than Disclosure Day, but not by much. Like, better than Disclosure Day isn't a really high bar to cross, and though Supergirl soars past it, it still falls light years behind Superman, and regardless of what comes after, I feel like this is going to remain in the bottom 3 of James Gunn's DCU. Like, it's only two, we're only 2 films in, But I feel like as more films in the DCU come out, this is still going to remain at the bottom. It's going to be the standard in which all bad DCU movies going forward are measured. I'd go as far as saying maybe it's not as bad, but it's close to Batman versus Superman. But that's a different DCU, one that we've forgotten. And this film right here, it didn't make much of an impact either. So let's just forget about it because the Odyssey is coming out in a few weeks, and that film is going to be peak because it is Christopher Nolan, and Christopher Nolan can do no wrong. So the next film review I'm doing is probably going to be the Odyssey. So I'll see you in a few weeks. I think 3 weeks or maybe less. What day is it today? It's 27th. Yeah, 3 weeks. So yeah, I'll see you in 3 weeks with my Odyssey review, and that film will for sure be great. Like there's some parts of it I'm skeptical about, but I trust Nolan. But I don't trust Craig Gillespie to direct a film anymore. Never let this man direct again. I'll see you in the next one.